Hello guys, I'm back from another video, and today we're talking about what if Belle was from Terraria. So in the last video we talked about how after Belle was basically going through the route with Lily, specifically the route where Belle made his, artificial biomes, he would basically see that there was a dead end, but Belle doesn't really think that is an actual dead end, and so would blow it up with a sticky bomb. After seeing that the cave was actually, or at least the dead end was not really a dead end, he would see the dungeon from Terraria, not the dungeon from, Damachi. And after going into it, he would see the old man. And he would basically beg for him to basically destroy his curse. And so, after doing that, the old man would transform into the Skeletron. Or just Skeletron for short. So, Skeletron would basically try to kill both Belle and, Lily, but like Lily and Belle, or I'm just gonna be calling Billy. No, I'm just gonna call him like Belle and Lily instead, because Billy just sounds so fucking dumb. Yeah, actually, that sounds like a great ship name. No. Anyway, so after defeating, the Skeletron, he would basically keep all of the items, specifically the treasure bag, and decides to, just sell them, because technically those items are pretty much useless to him. I mean, you could definitely give them to Lily, but sorry, I already gave her some weapons, so unfortunately she's going to be keeping them instead. Maybe, in the future. I'm going to be adding in some weapons for her. Anyway, after doing that, they would basically go into the, dungeon, after defeating the, Skeletron, and would basically get all of the items and basically ransack it. And after that, they would basically sell the items to the guild. And let's just say the guild was pretty much, drooling at all of the money that they're getting right now. After that, Belle would be contacted by, a certain Hephaestus to basically let her see his brand new home. And after looking around and seeing, the brand new machinery that they gotten for, his little, forge area, she wanted to ask Belle so she can, get the specific forges so she can, mass produce some special items. And so Belle would gladly do it, but let's just say the cards were not really, strong enough to basically try and, hold them. Wait for a second. Sorry about that. So, after, showing her, some of the, or at least, seeing all of that happening, I meant, the carts being destroyed because they couldn't, carry the large forges and also the, machinery for, mass producing, armors. Belle would decide to just, use his Gate of Babylon style ability to basically just bring it there without any problems. So, after doing that, Belle would get a message from the guild that apparently they're going to be going to a specific, part of the dungeon, specifically a village. Apparently, they've been getting some trouble because of certain monsters basically coming in and basically wrecking the town. So, after being told of this, he would decide to go there with, Lily. After Lily hears this, she would also decide to join, and both of them would basically start to get ready, mostly by just getting some items from, his Gate of Babylon style ability, and so both of them would basically start to leave. Leave it, basically saying goodbye to, to Hestia, for obvious reasons. Currently, a person by the name of Viva, or at least I think that's her name, let me just check it again. I meant Vita, was wandering around the city until she found the large church that currently, resides, Hestia. After Hestia basically, answers the door, she would basically meet up with Vita. Apparently, she wants to meet up with Belle. But apparently Belle is still in the dungeon, and so would decide to basically, wait for Belle. And so that was basically the end of that episode. And so, let's talk about what happens next. So, Belle is currently at the guild, basically waiting for instructions from, the actual leader of the party, or at least, the large-ass party that's basically, created for the specific mission. Apparently, the leader was one of the members of the Loki Familia, more specifically Finn, as he basically orders everybody to get ready, and so everybody would start to leave going into the dungeon. Belle and also Lily, currently the only members of, the Hestia Familia, are basically, surrounded by a few members of, many other Familias, and currently, those Familia members are currently sweating in their boots, and also sweating their asses off, because knowing that Belle and also, Lily are here, well, they're concerned, because technically they're the most strongest out of all of them, so, yeah, they're kind of, thinking in their minds, yep, we're definitely gonna, do this. Because we obviously have them on our side. So, yeah. So, after a while of basically going through the dungeon, they would make it towards, a large looking, I guess you could say vast field. It kind of resembles that. So, after Belle sees this, he would think, well, this place doesn't seem anything ominous or anything. He would basically think in his mind. As Lily would say this, Belle, I feel like something is watching us from the fog. As Belle would say this, yeah, obviously. As Belle would basically grab a potion, more specifically, he would basically grab something from his, pocket. As for, Lily, she would also grab something from her pocket, and it was Danger Sense. Or more specifically, a Danger Sense potion. After drinking it, they would basically get the effect Danger Sense, as they would feel a few enemies nearby. And they seem to be wearing, or at least seem to be using arrows, and they seem to be pointing towards all of the adventurers, as Belle would say this, everybody duck down! After saying this, everybody would basically duck down, as a few arrows would basically rain by, but none of the, arrows would basically hit any, adventurers, as they would basically start attacking from the fog. As Belle would think, yep, they're stupid. As you would basically grab another potion and would start, grabbing it and would just start using it. Specifically, this potion was, you would grab a hunter potion, including, for, a certain, girl, aka Lily. As both of them would basically come into the fray and would basically start killing the monsters in the fog with, the hunter potion, well, the hunter potion would just basically, see the enemy's location, which is pretty easy for them. And so, after the fog was lifted, they would see all of the enemies were basically defeated, except for the side of, the other adventurers. They're currently almost being slaughtered, as Belle would basically come in and would basically grab, his SDMG and would basically start firing towards, all of the enemies. More specifically, these monsters were just some random, just imagine it was like lizardmen, and would start firing at them and would be killed instantly, causing them to basically poof into monster cores. Belle would basically grab the monster cores, including, Lily, and so would put them in their, let's just say, I guess you could say, but I can't remember the actual item's name, but it's basically like a, pocket dimension, basically. Almost similar to his Gate of Babylon style portal, but except not as, limitless to basically grab any items. So yeah, after doing that, all of them would just be impressed, as Bet is basically fuming, saying, hey, why did you take our... sorry about that, wait for a second. Hey, why did you steal our kills? As, Belle would just basically look at him, as he would say, we did not steal your kills, but it's more like you battle-hungry idiots decided to go into the fog without, at least thinking first. He would basically say, as, some of them were a bit offended, but some of the others would just realize that they were sort of dumb at the time. And Bet, being the latter, he would say, we're not dumb, as he would say, oh really? As he would basically point at one of his injuries, which was a sprained leg, which he would say, whatever. As Belle would say this, here, as he would basically throw a little potion, specifically a red one. As he would say, what's this? As Belle would say this, healing potion. As after smelling it, he would say, smells like cherries? He would basically say, as he would start to drink it, as his sprained knee would basically fix itself, as he would say, damn, I actually felt good. Damn. As he would start stretching his leg, as he would say, it's like it's brand new. As he would basically look back at Belle, as he would say, whatever. As he would basically start to leave with the rest of the Loki Familia following after him. Except for one. And this girl was Leafia, as she would basically start to look at Belle a bit weirdly. Wait for a second. And so, after looking at Belle for a few minutes, she would basically start to leave with the rest of the Loki Familia. So, after getting out of that specific part of the dungeon, they would basically make it towards a dungeon, or at least a dungeon area that resembles a land made out of weird crystals, or at least somewhat weird looking crystals. All of them would basically start to look around, seeing the place was pretty empty of monsters. But Belle and, Lily would know better. Their danger senses were basically going on alert. Like, instantly, like, ringing, like, almost like, that type of feeling where you're basically right next to a speaker, and it was pretty loud, in fact. Just imagine that feeling. Yeah, I know that feeling exactly, because, there's this festival in our country known as Atiatihan. I remember, one of our, festivals, or at least one of the days in that festival, I was forced to basically stay near a loud ass speaker. And it was so loud that it caused me a headache. Yeah, just imagine that type of feeling. So yeah. So after a while of basically, feeling the danger sense, they would start to hear rumbling as Belle and also, Lily would basically take up their stances, getting ready for a fight. As they would see a large Goliath-like, monster about the size of a literal building, with several arms and several faces. As they would start to charge towards Belle and also, Lily, because they think that they're quite weak. Oh, that poor thing is unfortunately wrong. So, Belle would basically charge in as he would grab his, zenith and start slicing up the thing. As for, Lily, she would basically block the attack thanks to her worm scarf, which, let's just say, everybody would basically, see her just wearing it. As she would basically, go back, as she would basically grab her thorn chakram and basically throw it towards, the large-ass monster, slicing it apart, ripping off his arm, in fact. Everybody was just, impressed, as some of them would start to, help them by using several blasts of magic, and also some of them using, bows and arrows, and even some using knives. So, after a while of basically, trying to beat this monster, the monster would fall down, and would poof into a large, into a large, monster core. After doing that, everybody would start to scramble to try and get it. Belle would not care because, he already has a lot of money. As for Lily, she also doesn't really care. After all, they literally are freaking rich. So, yeah. After doing that, Belle and Lily would basically start to leave, going towards, a little area of the, of this weird looking part of the dungeon. And so, after a while of basically waiting, they would see several of the, members, mostly members from the Ganesha Familia, in fact, seem to be grabbing the, the actual, gigantic ass monster core and trying to carry it towards their, I guess you could say cart. So, after doing that, they would basically start to, leave, finally, as Belle was basically there just waiting with, Lily. So, Lily and Belle are basically, walking with the, several of the other Familia members, as one of them would say this, specifically the leader, aka Finn. So, guys, I think it's better for us to basically sleep here now. This place is actually kind of safe, so, as all of them would basically start to set up camp for now. As Belle is basically, making his tent, which actually is not really a tent, it's more like, a little house in its own, it's literally like a house for themselves. So they make it, not really near, the actual, camp, but more like, nearby, almost like, a few blocks long. Not really blocks as in, terraria blocks, but more like, as in, measurements. Basically a few feet away, I guess you could say. So, they would basically make the house, which was pretty easy for Belle because it took about I don't know, maybe 3 minutes, by the way. So, after making the house, it was almost seems to resemble a Japanese-style house. So, after basically going in, both of them would basically fall asleep. After waking up, Belle and, Lily would basically start to leave the house and would basically create, I don't know, a literal ass barrier. So, yeah, after Belle makes that, he would basically start to leave with, Lily. So, as Lily and Belle would arrive, he would see, some of the members would just basically look at them, as one of them would say this. Hey, Belle, where did you go, and why is Lily with you? As Belle would say this. Well, for one, I was sleeping alone with Lily. And number two, well, is it not obvious we're basically, the familia members? As Lily would say this. Don't tell me that you're actually in a relationship with, the runt over there. As Belle would say this. Sorry, unfortunately not. And by the way, I'm dating somebody, by the way. And I only consider her as a sister. As she would say, yeah, I consider Belle as a brother than anything else. After hearing this, some familia members from other familias would basically start screaming out. Mostly girls, except for, Eyes, Rivia, things of that sort. They're basically, just crying knowing that Belle has already been taken. Some of the boys would just think, oh, thank God. They're basically saying in their minds. Because, what if Belle actually gotten, a girlfriend? Or at least, started setting his eyes on, some of their women, but thankfully he already has a girlfriend. As one of the guys would say, wait a minute, who is your girlfriend exactly? As he would say, oh, nothing, I would rather not talk about it. As all of the guys would start to become a little bit suspicious. Except for Finn and, what's his face? Yeah, Bet. So, after Belle basically comes into the camp, you would basically see a few people basically cooking breakfast. As Belle would basically see this, he would say, huh, he would basically start to leave with, Lily as, they're basically nearby and they would basically start to grab some food out of nowhere. So, after, bringing in the food, which, by the way, was being carried on the cart, which everybody's just, looking at, just, going, how the fuck did you get those? As Belle would say this. Magic. He would basically start doing jazz hands. As Belle would just do that, as everybody would just have that deadpan expression, and some of them would just fall down on their faces knowing that. As Belle would say, anyway, we should probably start eating. And so everybody would start to eat. Everybody was pretty much, having a bit of fun and even interacting, but for Belle and Lily, they're not really interacting with anybody. One of them, specifically a random familia member, would say, hey, Belle, why are you not having fun with us? I mean, as Belle would say this, sorry, I'm not really interested right now. I just prefer to do the missions properly and, and efficiently, I guess you could say, after, swallowing his food. As Bet would say, so you think that you're better than us? As Belle would say this, no, it's just because I don't really care all that much. I just want to finish the mission in about a few days, because I really want to go on a date with my girlfriend, he would say. As Lily would say, yeesh, does she have you on a leash or something? As Belle would say this, I guess you could say that. As she would say, you and your girlfriend are always sounding like a bit of a, I guess you could say, as she would basically start doing some pervy shit, just saying that. As Belle would say, I'm surprised that you're able to say those things with a straight face. As she would say, I guess you could say that because, you have these books on your library. As everybody would start looking at Belle, as you would say, you're joking, right? As she would say, ah, yes, joking. As Belle would basically start shaking her face, shaking her, body at you, say, I do not have those. As everybody's just, looking at them, just well, all of them would just have this deadpan expression. So, after finishing breakfast, all of them would start to leave to go back onto their, on their specific course towards, the actual, village. So, after a while, basically, going around, that specific area, they would basically, go around and finally arrive at some sort of place. As Belle would recognize this place. It resembles a literal hellscape with several, ashy, almost ashy-like grounds, and seems to have, instead of water, lava. And not only that, several structures that seem to be made out of, this weird obsidian-like material. As Belle would say this, please don't tell me that's hell. As she would say, wait, what do you mean, Belle? As Belle would basically whisper in her ear what hell is actually like. She would start to pale knowing this, and Belle would also tell her that apparently this place is also have these special demons that if they, if their dolls were to, go into the lava, well, let's just say disaster happens. He would basically talk about you know, the wall of flesh, which she's terrified of. So, after hearing this, all of them would, both of them would basically agree if they find a voodoo demon, make it sure that they don't, throw their doll, or at least the voodoo doll, into the lava. But unfortunately, in this story, I'm definitely gonna make that happen. So, as currently with, some of the familiar members, they're trying to find a way to basically get across this large area of lava. As all of them are thinking, Belle would decide to do this. Alright, let me just grab something. Belle would basically go somewhere with, Lily, as they would basically grab some obsidian platforms, which, surprisingly, can carry all of this heavy shit from the carriages, basically. Or at least from the cargo. So, as Belle is basically, going back in front of them, they would see that, Belle and Lily would start to create, the large platform made out of obsidian. As Belle is basically setting this up, Belle would say, alright, you can, walk across, but make sure not to, fall to your deaths. So, all of them would basically, try it out, and somehow, it had the ability to basically carry all of them, which they're pretty much surprised. But some of them would just think, yes, this is pretty normal. They would all say in unison, as Beth is basically, just walking around, basically trying to make it fall down, which, made everybody worried, but thankfully, the platform is pretty tough, to the point that even Beth, even using his magic, would not even destroy it. So, yeah. Wait for a second. So, after a while basically going through the lava, they would make it towards a little area, more specifically, a broken down building made out of obsidian. So, as Belle would see this, Belle would basically grab, I don't know, maybe a simple, let me just pick. He would basically grab a Shroom Knight digging claw and basically just tore through the entire wall. After doing that, all of them would basically go in, including the entire, cargo, as they would basically stay for now. All of them would basically just look around until they would feel a weird-looking presence, as a blast of energy would basically appear, more specifically fire, as all of them would basically step back and trying to protect the cargo, as something would basically appear. A demon-like monster with almost a short stature and seems to be, just having red skin, basically like a typical demon, as it would start to laugh maniacally, as Belle would say this, great an imp. Those annoying little shits. As Belle would basically grab, wait for a second, he would basically grab the kaleidoscope and would basically slap the shit out of it. After doing that, it would basically be killed. After doing this, Belle would basically say, alright guys, we're safe for now. Those annoying little fuckers. He would basically say with his, under his breath, as they would basically start to leave again. That, they were fully rested. After a while, basically, putting down, several, platforms, they would basically start being surrounded by, what are they called? They would see a few flying demons, or at least, the regular demons, or whatever you want to call them, as these demons would basically start to surround them. I can't really remember how they actually attack, but I think I remember them just, shooting out, these weird-looking, scythe-like weapons. And also, below them, they would see large bone serpents would basically appear out of nowhere and basically get ready to slam them into the, lava below. Thankfully, Belle and, Lily would basically come into the rescue and would basically start to fight them. For the rest of the adventurers, they would basically start to fight, these monsters, but these monsters are not really normal monsters, and so would basically start to fight back, and they're basically getting swatted like flies. But for Belle and, Lily, thankfully they're basically, beating them down. Bet, in his reckless attempt to basically think that, to try and make himself a little bit, better in the eyes of the other adventurers, would basically try to fight the bone serpents. But the bone serpents would basically slap him around and would basically get ready to throw him into lava. Throw him into the lava. But Bell would basically, would basically grab him with his, with a grappling hook and would basically, bring him back into the, platform. And basically, Bell would basically grab, the DSMG and would basically shoot down, the large ass, bone serpents instantly. But nearby, a voodoo demon would basically appear. As Bell would say this, "Oh, no, don't you dare!" As Bell would basically try and, stop it from, getting near the lava. For, Lily, she would basically notice this as she would say, "Oh, no, don't you dare, as she would basically try to, pull it towards her, as the voodoo demon was about to die, as Bell would basically, shoot it down, and thankfully, Bell would basically grab the voodoo doll. As, after, sighing relief, he would say, "Thank God, the voodoo doll did go into the lava." After saying this, somebody would push him as he would say, "Oh, sorry," as this adventure was was Leafia, as she would say, "Oh, I'm sorry for that." Bell would notice that the voodoo doll is no longer in his hands as he would look, "Oh shit. But before he could do anything, he dropped into the lava. As Bell would basically see, in his video game type screen, he would say, it would say, "The wall of flesh has been awoken." As Bell would say, "Well, we're fucked." After saying this, a large sound of, the large scream would basically be heard across the dungeon. As they would look towards the direction, as behind them was a large fleshy wall, which, literally stretches across all the way to the, to the sides of the, the dungeon room. As Bell would say this, "Shit," as Bell would basically start quickly trying to make, more platforms to basically try and get away from it. As for Lily would basically go onto the carts, and some of the adventurers would basically try to run away, as Bell would quickly try to make more, platforms. Lily would basically start shooting down, the wall of flesh with her chakram, as the little minions, or at least I want to call them that, which are those, I can't remember their actual names, but they're basically mouths, basically, and they're basically trying to chomp on Lily, as Lily would basically slowly just whittle them down, as the wall of flesh is super mad. As the wall of flesh would basically try, chomp her into, little pieces, as Lily would basically break off one of its eyes. The thing would basically scream out in pain as it would start to charge towards, the cargo at rapid speeds, breaking one of the cargo, or at least one of the cargo, I don't really know what to call it, but yeah, the carriage, and causing it to fall into the lava, causing everybody to basically run in fear. Bell currently trying to, get more space between them and the wall of flesh. Bell would basically grab, his DSMG and basically start firing towards, the wall of flesh. The wall of flesh's mouth would basically be destroyed, as the wall of flesh would only have one eye left. As Bell would say this, "I think we're about to win. Hey, Lily," as Lily would say this, "Finish it!" As she would say, "Right." So, she would basically grab her, chakram and basically throw it towards, the wall of flesh. After doing this, the wall of flesh would be destroyed, causing a structure to basically appear. After doing this, everybody would basically look back and seeing that the wall of flesh is gone, and its place was a weird looking box. Bell would see this as he would say, "Alright guys, I think we should just calm down. Hey Lily," as Lily would say, yeah?" As Lily would just look towards Bell, as Bell would say this, "You earned it. Go into that box. You might get something out of it." After hearing this, everybody would just look towards him as, Bell would say, "What? She's the one who actually defeated the thing." She would basically go into, the weird looking box, as she would grab a simple pickaxe. Just imagine her, wielding a nebula pickaxe. After using it, she would basically, open the damn thing and would see something inside. After, going around the thing and would basically grab the items, she would get a pwn hammer, which she thinks it's kinda cool, but she would get something pretty interesting. I think it was called something. Let me just remember the. She would basically grab a warrior's emblem, which, if you don't know, is an emblem that basically increases all melee attacks, which is somehow related to, the third chakram, which I don't know why does it exactly, equate to, melee attacks, but still. So, after, grabbing it, she would basically show it towards Belle, which Belle was pretty impressed with. And so she would basically get the item and would increase her, attacking power. So, after doing that, Belle and the rest of the adventurers, which the adventurers were pretty much, thinking in their minds, yeah, this girl is definitely overpowered just like Belle, as Belle would basically, putting more platforms, and also after a while, basically, wait for a second, sorry about that. So, after finishing almost, the entire way, basically like making more platforms and basically putting them down, they would make it towards the exit of this specific part of the dungeon. Which Belle would start to think, thankfully we actually did it. So, after Belle basically, tells everybody to get out of here, all of them would basically agree and would basically get out of the dungeon. And so they would make it towards a simple area of the dungeon, which, one of them would recognize as the way towards, the village. Apparently, he knows it because he's been there for about, he's been there for like a while and knows the area pretty correctly. Except for the part where there's a large-ass hellscape there. So, yeah. So, as everybody's getting down from there, from that specific area, they would basically leave and make it towards the village. So, yeah, I'm gonna be ending this episode right off here. And so, I hope you liked the video. Comment and subscribe. And I hope to see you guys next time. Bye-bye!